for those of you who has been Hong Kong, and I might bring you guys up to the peak, that is what it should look like. Okay, so as you can see, here is the magnetic field of the Hong Kong during nighttime. So if you come to Hong Kong by chance and getting the weather is getting not that good these few days, but if it's in good weather, it should look like that. So as you can see, most of the buildings here in Hong Kong is a bit tall, and I don't think you can see any piece of ground floor from here or land from here. So yes, we are in a very densely populated period city area in China and part of the world. So before I start, I want to show you this little video, if I can get it right this time. No. Again. Sorry, I start over again. And okay, it's just meant to have some background music, but anyway, it's only a couple of minutes video. It shows that it is a quick view of Hong Kong. So as you can see, we have so many buildings here, a lot of people, and yes, it's how it's of course it's a fast forward, but you can see people keep walking around. It's very hard to find a place that you cannot see anyone, any people in Hong Kong. So if you get into one of the, we call it minibus, the public transport, is what it looks like. We have a Victoria Harbour here. It's a very famous harbour in the world. Somewhere. Okay, so leave it. So just if you wonder where we are, here's the world map, and can anyone tell me where's Hong Kong? If you're good eyesight. Here, somewhere here, right? So, in fact, that, okay, I'm going to show this. Here's where we are. In fact, that dot is not up to scale. I mean, the dot here, if you can look closer, is actually bigger than Hong Kong. So, we are all covered by that dot if you look closer on the map. So, yes, we are, Hong Kong is we are comprised of like Hong Kong Island, Lantau Island, where the airport is, Kowloon Peninsula, and the New Territories. We call it New Territories for reasons, because the British come to Hong Kong and in 1841, and then first of all they occupy them. They get possession of the Hong Kong Island, and then later on during the Second Opium War, he acquired the Kowloon Peninsula, and then at the Third War, they got what they call the New Territories. That's why we are still calling that part of it's like between China and Hong Kong, that area, we call it the New Territories. So that's some background information. So we have 262 outlying islands, and yes, between Hong Kong and Kowloon Peninsula, there's a Victoria Harbour named after the Queen Victoria of England. And it's one of the most renowned deep water harbors. So the big cruise and the heavy ships can actually sail up into the Hong Kong. We have a total area of this, but for some reasons we only have 25% developed. So we have some country parks reserve. That is what we need for fresh air and oxygen. So it's up to about 40% of the land. As I said, we used to be a British colonies. So here is one of the very first drawing of the, I think the British naval officer who did this drawing when he first came to Hong Kong in 1840 something. And now this is what it is. Of course, he's not drawing at the peak, but as you can see, here's the harbor, right? And if you look closer, there's a little mountain here, and that's supposed to be here somewhere. So over the years, we keep reclaiming land, so the harbor gets narrower and narrower, so it's very close, and we always joke that eventually one day we can walk across the harbor, if you still got one, from Hong Kong to Kowloon side. So this is Kowloon Peninsula, and here's the Hong Kong Island. Okay. We have 7.2 million people in Hong Kong living in that piece of land, and we are the 4th most densely populated city in the world. Just give you some idea. I got this from the internet. So Japan, for the metropolitan city, has the biggest number of population, 37,000 million. Okay. For Japan? Right, okay, good. And then New York, 21 million. Paris, okay. So just for comparison, you have Sydney here, okay, and Stockholm, and Helsinki, right, Berlin. So we don't have the highest population by number in the world, but as you can see, right, we are more or less the smallest here. Is that per square mile or per square kilometer, and that's the population. So as you can see, we have so many people in Hong Kong, and we have 150 people from China coming over to Hong Kong every day. That means you don't have to, well, they have to apply for, we call it a single way visa to coming from China, mainland China to Hong Kong. And then some of those who are rich enough, as you can actually all know, we are now, well, the Chinese people are very rich now, so they can invest into Hong Kong, and then they have this another additional quotas for the investment immigration. So we had the numbers is keep going up, and there's so many people in Hong Kong, and there's so little usable land, right? So we have to stack one by one to stack up everyone. So that's why we have so many high-rises built in Hong Kong. Well, here's the map of Hong Kong. So this is Shenzhen, China. So we still have keeping a border here. So that's why we called ourselves, as you can see, Hong Kong SAR means Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. We are in that one country, two system. So we are still, in Hong Kong, we are still keeping more or less capitalism. But in China, they call it now socialism instead of communist, but they call it socialism. Anyway, the people in China, they cannot just come over the border to Hong Kong. As I said, they need probably a two-way visa, so they have to go back home, or they have to stop here somewhere, but only have a short period of time. Here's Hong Kong. As you can see, there's quite a lot of mountains there and here. Here's the airport. For those of you who come to Hong Kong, well, it's a relatively new one. We used to have an airport which is much more scarier. Oh yeah, just have a quick one. Have any one of you come to Hong Kong not using the new airport? Well, the Kai Tak airport. Could you please raise your hand? Okay, what's it like?
Scary.
Funny, right? Okay. In fact, it is right in the middle of the city center. So it was one of the most dangerous airports in Hong Kong, in the world. So if you touch down, right, you can see people washing their dishes or watching TV in the home. I'm serious. Okay. Just if you've got time, you can go to the internet and search for the Kai Tak Airport or the Hong Kong Airport. You can see what it looks like. My school is somewhere near the airport, or the old airport. So we have to stop sometimes because the aeroplane is so close to us. I think at the maximum time for 45-minute section, we have to stop about 4 times during that 45 minutes. So it's really funny. But anyway, we have this new airport, and the airport is not, it cannot be able to cater the need. So we are having the 3rd runway now planning. So in the near future, we have the 3rd. Now they have 2 runway, and then we have the 3rd runway for the airport. So again, because of the historical and political and geographical reasons, only 23.7% of the Hong Kong's land is developed. So only 6.8% is being used for housing. We have a pretty big debate now in Hong Kong, and because the government wants to solve the problem of housing, and the only way we can solve the problem is to build more houses, or flat, if you call it. But of course, the conservationists want to keep the countryside or more green land, and there are some people say, oh, okay, what about to reclaim more land, to build more land? But again, we have dolphins, and some it's very rare in the world, so we have to protect them. It's keep on debating this. So yes, political is quite major issue nowadays for us. Okay. Okay, here's the map again. This map I want to show you is the population. As you can see, we got the most densely populated area here. So for those of you who has been in Hong Kong, this is where Mong Kok, Tsim Sha Tsui, and Causeway Bay somewhere here. So it is the most densely populated area, as you can see. Okay. This is where I'm responsible for. Luckily, it's only that yellow part. So, okay, I can manage it. So, as you can see, we are most of the area are not used. Okay. Okay, skip the first one. But we have an estimated 7,822 buildings more than 35 meters tall in Hong Kong. So, as I said, we stack up everybody. Okay, so now we have a good understanding of what's happening in Hong Kong. So let's talk about my department. We have 9,561 uniformed members and 7,740 civilian members. Okay, that's including we're responsible for firefighting and paramedic or ambulance service. So about 2,000 of them are paramedics. So about 7,000 something is firefighters. We are all full-time firefighters. We don't have any retained or volunteer firefighters in Hong Kong. We have 626 operational appliances and vehicles. We still use that British term, so we call us appliance instead of fire truck or fire engine. So, okay, we have 21 vessels which provide marine firefighting. We also do the underwater search and rescue. Before year 1997, which was when we was in British rules, the British Navy do the underwater search and rescue for us. But before before they leave anyway, the train our divers. So we have our own divers to do the all underwater search and rescue. But just in case if something involved in criminals, the police will come. Their elite SWAT team. They only have divers for their SWAT team. So we will ask them to come to do the about criminal stuff, because eventually they have to go to the court as a witness. Okay. Now we have 81 fire stations and 39 ambulance depots and 6 fireboat stations in around Hong Kong. So we have the response time for 6 minutes for built-up areas and 9 to 23 minutes for the areas with lower people. Okay, so for the emergency ambulance service, it is 12 minutes response time for them. Well, we are doing quite good because we have to meet that 92.5% of all calls. So that's our performance patch. Okay, talking about fires. Someone was discussing about the SOG or SOP for building fires in Hong Kong, and then I think Peter asked me that do we have a special SOG for high-rise buildings in Hong Kong, and I say no, because basically all fires we only have one SOG, so we don't have a special one for high-rise building. But anyway, this is from our departmental report. So this is the latest edition is 2016. We respond to 1,000 calls, but if I subtract vessel fires, vehicle fires, vegetation. We call this vegetations because we don't have forest, so we don't have the forest fire, okay? Right, and squatter area, so it's getting lesser and lesser in the old days, because the people, they don't have enough money to buy a flat in Hong Kong, so they build a wooden house somewhere in the hillside, and then more and more people gather together, so we got that squatter area. But it's getting less and less public areas. If you subtract all those things, I come up with a figure of about that. So that's more or less the high-rise building fires that we attend in Hong Kong for the whole year. Okay.
Raymond,
yes?
The unwanted alarms, 28,000. What's the description for an unwanted alarm?
Automatic fire alarm. So we have, whenever we go, and then we find it's a false alarm.
So the false alarm is not an automatic fire alarm? Because you have false alarms as well.
This one's false alarm. Oh.
If you go further up,
Yes. That one's it's not automatic.
It's not automatic.
Yeah, someone, yeah, over the phone, and then they call. Okay. Right. So, for those of you who are not familiar with the risk of the high-rise building fire, so I just come up with these. Okay. Some of the major issues that associated with the high-rise building, which is, of course, we have to think about evacuations, smoke movement, fireman's intervention, and fire control. So as we all know that we have more people who are likely to be exposed, and then we cannot do it from outside most of the time, and we have to fight internally. When I teach my guys how to fight fires back home, I always said that, right? We have a bit of that debate because we teach them to cool the fire gas or smoke, whatever you call it, before you enter the compartment, right? But they ask me, right? Did I have to do that if I'm outdoor? Because we have this kind of like puzzle. Because when we show them the video that from all around the world, most of the time, the guys going into the compartment is like they can see the sky. They're right doing from outside to inside, right? But for us, right, most of the time that we are entering the compartment, this is from indoor. So we as you all know, right, we take the lift or we walk up to the 5th floor, and then we like maybe find some smoke in the corridor, and then we find the correct unit on fire, and then we have to start working. So yes, we have to fight the fire from internally. Well, Ricardo may not be correct to you, but anyway, that's yeah. Okay. So yes, the overall building area is likely to be greater than normal. Define normal. Okay, and the effect is more likely to impact other floors. Okay, so we also have that kind of little debate about to talk about which floor, if I'm the incident commander, if I feel more comfortable, if I go to the high-rise building fire, but the 5th floor is somewhere lower, or if I can choose, I would rather choose the fires happening up there somewhere, because the smoke traveling up, I don't have to worry about the search and rescues and so many people waiting for help. But for the lower part, right, all the smoke goes out, and then you can see everybody waving, and then somebody throwing the stuff down to try to catch your attention. It's pretty scary. Okay, and yes, the evacuation takes longer. Again, it's duplicated. External evacuation is not possible. The smoke traveling upstairs. So now we have a brief understanding of how is it like in Hong Kong, and what's the difficulties for fighting the fires in high-rise building. So yes, of course, we have two different sides of the coins. We have pretty good fire safety requirements, and then we also have the, let's talk about it, and then later on I'll talk about our response system. Okay, sorry for the small table, but this is more or less a general summary for our requirements for fire service installation, or fire protection, whatever you call it, in Hong Kong. Can I bring your attention to here? Domestic building. Apparently, it has the less requirement for fire protection, but see, we need to have emergency generators. We need to have emergency lighting, exit sign, something like that. Oh, for those of you who are wondering, how do we define high-rise in the Hong Kong? Okay, according to our building fire code, the high-rise building is like the uppermost story exceeded 30 meters above the point of the staircase discharge or the ground level. So this is how we define the high-rise. Okay. Above that, we don't have another definition for requirement for super high-rise or ultra high-rise, whatever you name it, but we only have classified as high-rise building.
Your tallest building, Raymond?
100 something floors. I'll show you later on. It's somewhere there. Okay, so yes, here we are. And again, for domestic buildings, we have exit signs and fireman's lift, whatever you call it in your region. For those of you who are not familiar, it must have, it's connected to the emergency power supply. So in case of a power failure somewhere, the firefighters can still operate it, and it has a switch on the ground floor. So when we go there, we break the glass, and when we activate the fireman's lift, the lift will come down, and it only can be operated from inside. So we have someone to, we will designate one of the firefighters to operate the lift, okay? And the stairwells would be, we have specific think 120 minutes, 2 hours fire protection period, fire resisting period. So the smoke and the heat cannot go inside the stairwells, something like that. So we have portable hand-operated approved appliance, which is a very complicated name for a fire extinguisher. Okay, so just a fire extinguisher. And John, we don't have a pressurized staircase for domestic building, just for the record. Okay, so
but if you go there and stay in a hotel, you do. So
yeah.
Look after the foreigners.
Okay, sure, of course, yeah. As you can, yeah, you have so many different things. Yeah, for hotel, it's just much more stringent. Okay, so but for low-rise buildings, we are not that. But we can manage it. Well, of course, because we are in a subtropical area, so we don't have a problem of freezing or snow. So majority of this system is like we don't have dry sand pipe pretty much. So majority of them are filled with water. So again, here's the domestic building. Why I put the star on it? Because we have, I have to correct myself, because we don't have a high flow. We only have 350 kPa requirement for the outlet for fire hydrant. So anyway, for high-rise buildings, majority of them, we don't have to lay the hoses up. We have standpipes, and it is wet, so we can have water anytime. And for those really high buildings, we have this refuge floor. So it is the floor somewhere in middle, just to make sure that if in case the occupants have to evacuate, they cannot go up or down the whole way. They can stop there and just to take a rest and waiting for us, the firefighters, to come and do the rescue. It's only for the provide the means of escape, allow them to take a short rest. So it's also have to help them to stay away from the smoke. This is how this looks like. Well, just an empty floor. Okay. But as you can see, we have sprinklers. For those who with refuge floors, normally they have sprinkler for the protector for the whole building. So you have sprinkler here and have trencher here. Let me show you. So the requirement is whenever it's exceed 25 stories of height, they will have to put a refuge floor between 20 and 25 somewhere. That's a tall one, but it's not the tallest one. Okay. For those of you who was wondering, we have this kind of building here. Let me show you. Sorry, I came up with this last night, so I have to. Can I copy that? Anyway. Please excuse me. Here we are. The tallest building here. We have a high-rise building here somewhere, and For example, this one. $75 for domestic building. Okay, so, and well, I like this one. I want to show you this one. Okay, this one is funny because, okay, right. For this building, right, we have a club. They have this clubhouse here. So the swimming pool is in fact here. So you can swim in the middle of the air. Of course, you have to pay for that. It's very, very expensive. Now, the roof is 231 meters up, so there's 65 floors above ground with 2 basements. I think it now costs about 20,000 Hong Kong dollars per square feet. Okay. Just for the record. Okay. Just how to show. Just want to show you how difficult we are in Hong Kong, right? I just go up to the one of the property agent. So as you can see, that's the price. If you can count how many zeros at the back, so that is what this looks like. But the area is probably like a garage to you guys, right? Okay. So if you ever thinking of living in Hong Kong, just think about it again. Okay, so here we are. Again. As I said, we have certain fire safety requirements for that. For the building, for the refuge floor, it should be same at every part of the building, and it must have the fire resisting period for more than 120 minutes, so which is 2 hours. I'm sorry, 2 hours. Okay, and yes, for all those shafts, if you walk, it's like a lift shaft or staircase shaft anyway, it should be protected from them. As I said, that's what it is. So we also have the trencher system. It should be operated automatically by the heat detectors or some other means. This is what it looks like. Okay, so whenever the people they want to evacuate, sometimes they have to, for higher level residents, they have to, if they want to choose to go downstairs by stairway, they have to stop somewhere in the refuge floor, and then they use another stairway. This is how it's designed to be. So it's so something like that. Okay. And also the firefighters, if for that building has the fireman's lift, sometimes we cannot go straight up to the top, so we have to go somewhere and stop at the refuge floor, and then we go up again. So let's talk about the front part, the firefighting operations. As I said, all building fire calls will we'll classify it as the number 1 alarm, except for vehicle fires or vegetation fires. That's why we separate those in the annual report. So number 1 alarm means any building fire calls except vehicles, vessels, something like that. For those special areas like water restricted areas, water area, dangerous goods storage, large shopping mall, hospitals, cinema, and railway station, airport, something like that, we classify it as number 2 alarm. So we have a different turnout criteria for that. But normally for a number 1 alarm, normal building fire call, we have 4 appliances. Okay, so we have a hydraulic platform, so it's in charge by a senior or a station officer. So that guy in charge this appliance is also the officer in charge of the incident. So have 1 senior fireman and 4 firemen, including the driver. So we have 6 people for that. The crew members of this appliance will go straight up to the fire floor, to the unit on fire. So normally they will bring along the hose, the BAs, ticks, smoke blocker, something like that. These guys are responsible to go into the unit. Okay. So when they go up to, normally if the building is equipped with a fireman's lift, we will take the fireman's lift and then we take up to the 2 floors at least below the fire floor. So we exit the lift and then we go to the staircase. We go to the fire floor through the staircase, and then we will take water through the fire hydrant hose reel, fire hydrant outlet, 1 floor below. And then we have a 70 mm hose connected to a 120 degree divider head, and then we put 40 mm hose. We don't have this debate of like high pressure, low flow, low pressure, high flow. We all use low pressure, high flow for firefighting. So we laid a hose there. So these crews are responsible for that, okay? And then we have this one, we call it light rescue unit. So the officer in charge is the principal fireman. We have a 2-tier system in Hong Kong. If you are a university graduate, most of the time, you are academically qualified, and you have a good command in English, and then you can apply directly into the officer level. Okay, for those of them are not that academically qualified and they are not good in English, they can apply to the firefighters level. So for the firefighters level, they can we all do the training in the 26 weeks back in our academy. So, but if you graduate as a firefighter, you will work your way up to firefighter, fireman, senior fireman, and principal fireman. So that guy is the highest rank you can reach as a rank and file level. So this is what it looks like. And in Hong Kong, our official language is English and Chinese. But most of us are talking to, we use Cantonese to communicate. But for officers level, we use English as a written medium. So we have that kind of system, which is inherited from the British. Okay, because back to that old days, the expatriate, they come to Hong Kong, will go straight into the office level. So we still keep that system. Anyway, so the principal fireman and 1 senior fireman and 4 firemen, they will bring these trucks or this appliance has all these breaking in tools in it. So we have whole metal set, probably like a partner K1000, what do you call it, the cutting set. All these breaking in tools in them with them. So this guy, this principal fireman, also acts as the BA entry control officer. So he is responsible for the BA entry control board also. And all of them, together with the hydraulic platform, they will go straight up to the fire floor. And normally, what we teach them is the guys from the hydraulic platform will lay the hoses, something like that, while these guys will do the breaking in. Yes?
Just a short question.
Yeah.
How do you perform BA entry control? What do you use? Just very simple. Do you use anything, or it's like pen and paper, or you have?
We have a board.
Oh, you have a board.
Now we have a briefcase, and then we open it. And everybody is used to that tag thing.
And it's universal practice. Nobody says, "Oh, we don't do this. This is not needed," and so on.
Universal practice.
It's accepted by the fire.
Yes. Okay, so yeah, I think I have to speed up a bit. Okay, for another one is we have a major pump, which is quite familiar to you guys. It's in charge by a junior station officer. It's a junior guy. So with one senior fireman and 4 firefighters, they are responsible to get water from the street fire hydrants, and they run the hoses and try to charge the fire service net. Okay, so whenever they finish the water supplies operation, they will go up. If there's another separate staircase or the rear staircase, they will go up through the rear staircase to just as a backup line. So for industrial fires, we have high-rise industrial building. So for those buildings, we'll have 2 exit. Right, the hydraulic platform guys will go up to the front, and then the major pump crew will go into the building or the unit via the rear staircase, if needed. And every single fire call we have, we will turn out all 4 of this, including the turntable ladder. So we don't define which floor. Whenever we receive a call, no matter how tall or how low the building is, we will have this. Okay, and of course we have an ambulance. If more than one fire call received, if sometimes we may know that the fire service installation or the fire protection stuff there is not working, our control center will automatically dispatch another pump, so 5 all goes together. And sometimes we have multiple calls received, but nowadays we also have the search and rescue group. So if more than one call received, one fire call received, or more, we receive many assistance requests, so we will have this search and rescue group. So it is compliant, or it is only used for multiple assistance, or if the incident commander requests. Again, you have one of the pumping appliance, which is hydraulic platform or major pump, and the rescue unit, and the reserve heavy pumps. Only the purpose is to convey those to the scene. So it's to the stairwell, pressurized staircase, or something like that. Yes, the main purpose is to maintain the smoke-free staircases and then do the snatch, search, and rescue. Yes, we still use that snatch rescue stuff. Okay, and so there are 3 stages for the search and rescue group. The first one, the stage 1 is to effect ventilation to the roof. Okay, and then it means to try to clear the smoke in the staircases, and then search the topmost 2 floors. Okay, and then when they finish that part, they will respond to the rescue evacuation to the reported units. That means, for example, the fire is at unit 15A. So the fire is on the 15th floor, and then we may have some assistant received calls received from 23rd floor, 18th floor, something like that. So they will respond to that one by one. Okay. After they finish that, they will search the common area and the staircase on the 5th floor above the fire floor. So if the fire starts at 15, so they will start searching from 16 to 20th onwards. After they finish that, they will do the rest of the floors above. Okay. For a escalated incident or a major fire, we also have this communication support team. So it is only used for enhance our radio communications, because for prolonged incidents, we always encounter those our batteries, our radio is out of batteries, something like that, and we have this. We used to have a very online video software, something like that. These guys will take the camera and be behind us, and they directly show to our bosses back in the headquarters. So anyway, so they would be turned out to the 3rd alarm or above, or as requested by the incident commander. So when they come, they will collect the following from the mobile command unit, if the mobile command unit is here. So we have this repeater. It's a box. It's a box for every. We put it somewhere, and to make a radio communication better, and then they will tour around the whole area, the building. Just ask us, oh, do you need batteries? Do you need batteries? If I say yes, and then they will change the battery for us. And now, after that, yes, our request a proposal from our CFBT unit, because for sometimes the tick may be out of battery, so they also have the battery for that and the video camera. Okay, so that is the difficulties firefighting operation. Difficulties in firefighting operation in Hong Kong. Again, if compared to other cities in Hong Kong, as you can see, we have the smallest average floor area per person. So as some of us was talking, John was talking about, nowadays we have this, whatever you call it, the unit will be subdivided into different smaller compartments to accommodate more people, which is not 100% legal in Hong Kong, but it doesn't mean they're illegal. So, yes, Peter, where are you? Peter asked me to show this. This is what we used to call it the best space apartment. It didn't happen anymore because the government have a restriction that in any single unit in Hong Kong, you cannot live more than 12 people. 12 person. So you can see the people, particularly, normally it's older people, they are poor, they cannot afford to rent a apartment, so they rent a bed. It's not like that Japanese capsule nice hotel, but that's what it is. So they have everything. They have their own stove, so it's pretty scary when I was in a probationary station officer, and we had to do the fire safety check every month to some certain area, and sometimes those of you who haven't seen a kerosene stove, we used to have a kerosene stove in Hong Kong, so the stove are just lying all over the corridor. It's pretty scary. So now the people in Hong Kong, they come up with a greater idea, because for a unit they cannot accommodate 12 people, so they divide it into 7 different units. So it is something like 600 to 700 square feet apartment in Hong Kong. So they divide it into this kind of, we call it a subdivided unit, which is a very big risk for us, very difficult for us because sometimes, for example, this one, they may not have a window. And something bad happened in the here somewhere. These guys have nowhere to go. Okay. And this gate was supposed to be unit entrance for one single dwelling unit, and now they divide it into different units. Okay, so it's a very difficult. So this is a fire happened somewhere in Hong Kong. One of the subdivided units was on fire, and then the fire spread because there's no fire resisting period requirement for that. And so whenever there's a fire in somewhere in the middle of the unit, you spread outside, and then the whole unit goes like that. And but that is not the worst part. The worst part is they have toilet bowls here, right? So what they have to do is to put more concrete floor slab to make it thicker, right? To accommodate the U tube, the U thing for the thing. So the building, the floor load the loading for the floor may be exceeded the original design of the building. And normally these kinds of units will have occurred, well, you can find it in the older building areas. So it's a very high risk of building collapse. And another risk for us is the aerial rescue. This is what this looks like if you come to Hong Kong. Well, if you want to buy this is normally for the industrial supplies, okay, and supplies for the garment industries. They have different buttons and clothes and that. Wherever if you came to Hong Kong, and this is Mong Kok, it's one of the densely populated area in Hong Kong. So if you can imagine, there's the fire somewhere up there. It is very hard for the operator to pitch the ladder for that. So conclusion, yes, we are in a very unique place, and we have a very high population with a small area, with a lot of high-rise buildings, and frankly, we have a good fire protections. And water supplies in Hong Kong is not a big problem for us. We have in the urban area, we have every street fire hydrant in 50 meters away. We have a pretty good road network, and for the major building, high-rise building, we must have major facade accessible to fire appliance. Okay, so as I said, water supplies, we have pretty much enough manpower for a single fire call. Sometimes it is far too much for that, but we can always ask them to leave the scene if needed. So, but for challenges, we have a large amount of people, vertical fire spread, external rescue, and firefighting. Okay, so before I go, I just want to show you some of these amazing photos. It is not uncommon for us. It's very, very common for us. Okay, just try to imagine there's a fire there, and then all the smoke goes up, and in the middle of the night, and somewhere in the middle of the building. This is okay. Thank you very much.